Good morning, my lovely students. I apologize for missing you last week. That holiday and the COVID test site just threw me off. I'm getting ready to do another COVID test site tomorrow, but there's no holiday, so apparently I'm budgeting my time a little better. Anyway, let's talk about where we were the last couple of weeks, where we're headed this week. You did your methods section and survey. A couple things about the methods. I've gotten a couple emails from people saying, I did my methods as a group, like you said. I greatly appreciate that you did your methods as a group. But here's the one little problem I have. When you do it as a group, if it's not assigned as a group assignment in Canvas, it doesn't link you with your group members. So if you're one of those people who did it as a group and didn't submit anything because just one group member submitted, please send me an email with the name of this group member who submitted the assignment, because otherwise I don't have a way of linking you and that person together. So I need to go through on the back end and link you up so that you get all of the comments on that method section. Please do that in the next couple of days. I would greatly appreciate it. That way you get all the feedback. If you are one of those group members who submitted it for the entire group, could you please give your group members that feedback? Take a screenshot, copy and paste, whatever you need to do to get it to them. I will try and do it on my end as quickly as possible as well. Also, make sure that all of that feedback you received on your methods section and survey is incorporated into whatever draft that you submit as part of your IRB application. You should have all received approval on your survey for submission. I went through all of them a second time, and hopefully you're good to go. The method section will not receive an updated grade, but you will want to incorporate all of that information in, and here's why. The method section is part of your final research project. So if you had a lot of corrections that needed to be made this time and got points deducted, if you don't make those corrections before the final paper, you're probably going to get even more points deducted because you have been told and elements of the paper are still missing. So make sure that you go ahead and make those changes to the method section. You definitely want to make them for the IRB, because the IRB is somewhat picky about which projects they're going to allow or not. You want to make sure that you are in as good a place as possible so the IRB approves your study, because if they start looking and they say, no, this isn't right, they will send it back to you, which will create a delay until all of those corrections are made. It should take about 3 to 5 business days for the IRB to get back to you with an answer. But if it takes them 3 to 5 business days to reject it, and it takes you time to correct it, and it takes them another 3 to 5 business days to get back to you the second time, I mean, we're looking at 10 to 12 days out, which is a while. So that's why I asked you to make these corrections now, so we don't run into that little time crunch in the next couple of weeks when what you really want to do is get your survey out. Thank you to everyone who revised your surveys. I know it is frustrating to turn something in and then have to redo it. Here's the deal. If you were really writing a survey, it would take you months to get that survey right. You would pilot it, you would send it to a number of colleagues to review. There would be a lot of steps. We are asking you to do something pretty time-consuming in a short amount of time. So when you are asked to make corrections, that is part of the survey writing process, but it is especially frustrating because your timeline is so short. So thank you all for your patience. Thank you all for the corrections that you made. So let's talk about where we're headed this week. This week we're headed into ethics. Ethics is my favorite week of the course, and I'm really sad I didn't talk more about it last week. But as you start to go through this, I could see as you're thinking about your own study, it seems like these ethical considerations are a little bit frustrating. But think about it if you were doing a study that involved something else, maybe a treatment or lack of for someone, it would start to become important that you take some of these ethical considerations into account. We are in a really unique time for ethics. In the middle of COVID-19, there are a lot of people who are looking at getting an immunization out and available to the public. There are a lot of people who are looking at getting some sort of, apparently I don't need to sneeze. There are a lot of people who are looking at getting some sort of treatment out to the public, and we need to make sure that those treatments and immunizations are safe for the public. And there are a lot of people right now who are gathering more and more information on COVID-19. Perfectly Great. We need more information about COVID-19, but we need permission from people who have had COVID-19 or been exposed to it, or any number of things before we start collecting their data. So I've been hearing about some of these things on the news lately, trying to get through the review process, or some studies that may not have been as safe as, or medications that they think may not have been as safe as they originally anticipated, or ended up with better results. This is the IRB. This is why we are looking at it. And when you think about the IRB, it sounds like it's been in place for a long time, but really since the 1970s, that is when we started implementing rural ethical guidelines for research. Think about all the things that happened before that. The Tuskegee Syphilis Survey happened before that. If you've ever read the books, The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks, that happened before, that happened before the IRB considerations were put into place. People were experimenting on other people without their permission, without providing them with all the information they need. Now we go through a fairly lengthy informed consent process, which some may argue is really longer than it needs to be. But look at the other side. Look at the mistrust that has been bred because ethical considerations were not taken into account previously. Think about this in the light of COVID-19. If you were conducting research on COVID-19, you would have to weigh two things. You would have to consider, is it more important to get this drug done quickly, or is it more important to let people know what's happening to them? There's a lot of researchers who are falling into that problem right now. They are trying to make sure that they do things quickly, and they don't want to get caught up in this red tape of the IRB. So in some cases, people are doing things a little bit under the table. What happens when we try and peer review that information? Unless the information is sent from a peer-reviewed article, it's not likely to be widely accepted. So you have to weigh those things. If you've been listening to Dr. Anthony Fauci, he's talked a little bit about this as well, about what it means to go through the IRB process and then through the peer review process. And since you are stuck in 391 this semester, it might be interesting for you to pay a little bit closer attention to what Dr. Fauci is saying as we go through COVID-19, and they're suggesting all sorts of different treatments and prevention measures. So you've submitted your pre-IRB application. Assuming that was done, you can move ahead to your IRB application. This is one of those assignments that only one group member needs to submit. If multiple of you submit it, the IRB will get pretty ticked off. So this is also an assignment that in Canvas, your entire group is linked together. So really only one person needs to submit this, unlike the methods. So make sure one person submits it. You need to use your revised survey, revised methods as part of it, and then wait. You will receive a response from the IRB probably in 3 to 5 business days. It's very likely to come from someone named Dr. Sydney Palmer. It won't say IRB on it, typically. So look out for an email from someone with the BYUI email address telling you whether or not you've been approved. Once your survey has been approved, you are welcome to distribute it. I think every single group is using social media, so as soon as you have that, you are ready to go. Make sure that Qualtrics link is live and it's posted to wherever you want. A couple things about that. Your survey needs to be open for 7 days. 14 days won't really gather more information than 7 days. So your survey needs to be open for 7 days, and around day 3, you're going to want to post a reminder saying, hey, if you haven't already filled out this survey, please do. Keep in mind that the vast majority of your data is going to come in within the first 48 hours. So pretty much anyone that's going to take your survey will do it in the first 48 hours, with the exception that once you send out that reminder, you should see another uptick in the number of cases or the number of responses that you receive. So make sure you do that. Make sure that all group members have access to the Qualtrics survey. So you're going to want to make everyone a collaborator. One person will put the survey into Qualtrics and everyone else will be a collaborator on that survey so that they can see the data as it comes in. Once you hit that 7-day mark, you're going to want to close the survey. It's unlikely that you're going to get any more responses, and you're going to want to move on to the data analysis portion. You're welcome to do the data analysis together or separately. You're welcome to use any program you want. We're going to start using JASP pretty soon. Starting on the 13th, we are really jumping into JASP. In my opinion, JASP is cumbersome and difficult to understand. I don't personally like it given the data set size that you are going to have. If you had a very large data set, JASP would be good. Given the size of your data set, in all likelihood, Qualtrics is going to do a lot of that analysis for you. And when you need to go a step beyond, Excel can do a lot of those things pretty easily, and there are 1,000,001 YouTube videos available showing you how to do some of those analyses that you might not know from Excel before. The other reason I strongly encourage you to use Excel is in the public health world, the business world, the world where we leave our houses. You use Excel a lot. I use Excel all day, every day at my job, and I'm not running complicated data analysis. I just use it to keep track of things that I'm doing. So if you don't feel comfortable with Excel, this might be a really good time for you to work on it. So, sorry, I'm looking at my calendar. So your IRB application is due on Saturday. Next week, we're going to make sure that we've installed JASP. Hopefully you receive a response from the IRB sometime mid to late next week, letting you know your survey can go live. Your survey should be live probably the week of the 15th. It should be live from maybe the 15th through the 21st, and then you'll start that data analysis. There's not a specific number of responses that you need to collect. I want to sneeze so bad. You will want to collect more than 30. So as many responses as you possibly can is great. I saw a lot of people in their methods section saying they needed to collect at least 75 responses. I don't think that 75 is awesome. Please collect 75. But I don't want to put a specific number in place because sometimes there are circumstances out of your control. However, you must post the link. You must encourage people to take the survey because there have been groups in the past that have just forgotten to do that. If you forget, you won't get any data. So don't forget. Okay. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is this. Yesterday, I posted your peer review literature review groups. And I know there's some confusion in the course. I said that your draft needs to be submitted to the discussion board no later than Saturday. And I know the course says Thursday. We are not doing that because I think the due date should be consistent throughout the whole class. So your first draft of your lit review is due to your group discussion board by Saturday the 6th because all of our due dates are on Saturdays. Then you have 1 week to review your peers' lit reviews. Each lit review needs to have 2 reviewers look at it. And remember that a good portion of your grade on this assignment is actually the review that you give your peers and not what you turn in. Granted, if you turn in something that's terrible, the lit review or the peer review is going to be pointless for both your peer and for you, and you will receive fewer points. But that is all to say that when you do the review of your peers' paper, you need to do a good job. You need to go through and make comments about what they did well, what they did not do well, what needs to be fixed, things like that. Don't blow this off. I would say it probably needs to take you about 20 minutes per review. So 45 minutes total. That's if you stop to get a drink and go to the bathroom halfway through. This shouldn't take forever, but you do need to spend some time. You do need to make comments. You do need to make sure they address all of the things. So make sure that you do a good job with this. Also remember, this is the first of the peer feedbacks that we're doing. We're going to do one for the final paper that is due in a while. It's due in a while. It's not on my calendar for June. So it's coming, but you need to do that, this first lit review, peer review. And that will be due in its entirety on the 20th of June. So if you have any questions about that, let me know. If you have a group member who doesn't post by the 6th, then too bad, so sad, they're not participating, and just make sure that you review everyone's assignments. If you have any questions this week, let me know. Stay safe, wash your hands, wear your mask, all the things, all the things. Have a great week.